Planning for a baby is no joke. There are so many things to think about when it comes to planning maternity leave, and it can feel super overwhelming. But luckily, I had Notion to help me. Today, I'm sharing how I use Notion to plan my maternity leave, and while I am personally taking a maternity leave, these tips can apply for any type of break that you are taking from your biz. To make sure I cover all of the things today, I'm going all the way back to when I first got pregnant because that's actually when the planning began. So we found out that I was pregnant at Christmas time last year, which was super magical for us, but also really great because that's when I do my annual planning. One of the first things that I do each year is I fill out my annual planning calendar so I can anticipate what the year is going to look like. So this is a peek at my annual planning calendar. The way that this works is that I always list out all of the events that I have going on, starting with holidays, going to personal plans, and then going into business and marketing plans specifically, before adding them into a calendar view down here. Now, I do use the calendar view throughout my Notion workspace so I can easily kind of see what is going on in different areas, like when I'm content planning or when I'm weekly planning, to make sure that I don't have anything overlapping that doesn't make any sense. But the biggest thing about this is that my personal things come first and my business things come second. So once I add in all of the holidays onto my calendar, things that I might want to be taking time off for, I then go into my personal plans, and my maternity leave was one of the first things I added in this year. Obviously, it starts at kind of a random time because you really don't know when baby is going to show up. So I have put a little bit of an estimated time of when I plan to start it, and then also when I plan to come back. Then from there, I was very strategic about my marketing promotions to make sure that I had things going on before then that would help me think through things like my finances. So if you were around this summer, you know that we had a few different master classes. So I made sure to put when I was going to be promoting each of those master classes on my calendar, and I knew when it was coming up. Again, being strategic with my promotions was really heavy on my mind this year to make sure that I could actually pay myself during maternity leave. I think finances are a huge concern for so many small business owners, whether you are planning to just take a break or take a sabbatical or take a maternity leave. But I'm here to tell you that planning ahead makes a world of difference. Because I had done my annual planning and I knew how long I wanted to take a maternity leave for, I could really dive deep into my business numbers to make sure I was setting aside what I needed to keep the lights on each month and also make sure I could pay myself. It took a lot of work over the spring and the summer, but any time that I had a surplus of income each month, I went ahead and set that aside so that I knew I was prepared early on. By the end of the summer, I knew I could confidently take 2 months off and not have to worry about my business or my paycheck. Personally, I did not use Notion for this. I use an accounting software called Xero, because it is specifically created for accounting and Notion does not have those specific functions. I highly recommend having a separate software for accounting in your business to make sure everything is in order. Now, to make sure I kept my work organized during this time, I heavily relied on my projects database, especially for planning out the master classes that I held this summer because there was a lot of lift with each of those classes. I highly recommend having a system in place for your goals and for your projects so that you can stay focused on what it is you want to accomplish. That way, when it comes time to take your leave, you can feel confident that you hit all of the milestones that you were wanting to accomplish. I talk more about my personal system in my video all about how I organize my business in Notion, and if you are looking for a system to adopt, you can grab my exact setup that has all the areas that we're talking about today. I will leave the link for you in the description box below. Now that you have a general idea of when and how you are taking your maternity leave, it is time to decide exactly what that's going to look like. Are you taking a break from socials? How are you handling your emails during this time? What level of work are you going to be doing during your leave? These are big questions, so let's break them down a little bit. For me, I knew I wanted to stay consistent with my email newsletters and my YouTube videos while I was on leave. My content planner has been a huge help in this area because I was able to just brainstorm a bunch of ideas for both and then go ahead and schedule them onto my calendar. So that way I could make sure that I had posts scheduled throughout my maternity leave. I like to keep my little ideas bank full up here at the top so I could just easily grab a few ideas and pop them on there to cover the full period. I also have a few other different posts in here, like some TikTok videos that I have been meaning to post for a while, but I am not pressuring myself at all to post them. If they get posted, they get posted, and if not, that's okay too. I also made sure to schedule a few posts like this one here, which was specifically announcing my maternity leave, just to make sure everybody knew what to expect from me. I do talk more about how I use my entire content planning system in a separate video, so be sure to check that out if you are curious about my process. Whether you're wanting to have scheduled posts during your leave or you do not want to be posting at all, I highly recommend talking about your upcoming leave in your content in a natural way so that your audience knows what to expect. The next question I tackled was what was going to happen to small day-to-day tasks like emails while I was away. For me, I'm lucky because my mom is part of my team and she is an amazing VA by trade, so she is going to be handling my inbox for me. However, even if you are handing off your emails, this is your reminder to set those autoresponders anyway. It is always good to be upfront about communication. To make handing this off as easy as possible, I wanted to make sure that I had SOPs set up for her. SOPs are super important to have in your business anyway, but in this case, I wanted to make sure she felt comfortable navigating things as much as possible without me. So this is where I house all of my SOPs in Notion, and the area that I was specifically concerned about making sure was set up was this email portion over here. What I ended up doing for this was inside this SOP, I created a database that had some of my common email responses. This is something that I am still kind of filling out and going through as I get questions in my inbox. And then I also have a view that is showing inbox sorting information. So essentially, when I get certain types of emails, this is what I would do with those emails. My goal is that when my VA is going through my inbox, she can come here and see what to do with all the different types of emails that I typically get. Most of them I have filtered out myself for the most part, but there are still quite a few that I get that are just kind of like, you have to go through them, you know? And then if I get any specific questions, that she can come here and try to find those answers without having to ask me. Now, I also made sure that I had SOPs to upload emails into my email editor, which is Flowdesk. I love Flowdesk so much. And just in case I wasn't able to get everything scheduled, I wanted to make sure that there was an SOP on how to schedule those, as well as how to schedule my YouTube videos so that if I didn't get all of those uploaded, she could do those as well. So as an example, in my YouTube video SOP here, there are lots of different resources for her to come and look at, as well as videos on how I do each step in the process of uploading my YouTube video. So I love using Tella for this reason. It is super easy for me to go ahead and film those videos and then pop them into my SOP page here because she can just play them from here, which is super nice. I go over how you can set up an SOP page like this and also how you can create your SOPs in a couple of different ways in a separate video, so do be sure to check that one out. Then lastly, I wanted to make sure I had a plan for what my maternity leave would actually look like, and I do say plan very loosely. I do not really want to be tied to anything, and I want to be able to play it by ear. But what I ended up doing was creating a phase system. Again, this is not set in stone, but the idea here is that I wanted to ease back into working in a sustainable and manageable pace. So just to take a look at what I have planned, phase 0 is essentially no work. I am not planning to do anything. I have autoresponders on. My mom's looking at my email for me. Optionally, I could do some light journaling or do some voice notes to myself if I have some ideas that pop up, but generally there is no work during this time. Phase 2 is starting to gently get back into some small things. So this is really a time for me to kind of check back in, see what happened over the past month while I was away. I can go ahead and post like content if I want to. But one of the biggest things I plan to do during this time is to check in on silent projects that are happening in the background. So things that I can work on easily, I can just pick them up and put them down. It doesn't need to be something that's really intense or super needle moving. Then we have phase 2, which is adding just a little bit more on top of that. So during this time, I plan to kind of get back into the swing of things in terms of creating content so that when I do come back, I can just go ahead and schedule that and not have to worry about creating it right then and there. I also really want to take this time to decide what coming back to work fully actually looks like for me. So adding new boundaries, just making sure that things are actually going to flow in a way that makes sense for my new season of life. And then lastly, phase 3 is essentially coming back full time, where I'm going to start working a little bit more normal again. But normal is probably going to look a little bit different. So making sure I'm implementing those new boundaries that I've set myself and not overdoing it right away. I have a general timeline on these as well, just kind of to give myself an idea of when I would like to start doing that. But again, I am not tying myself down to anything. I'm going to see how I'm feeling during that time and kind of see when is going to be the right time to move into those next phases. You are more than welcome to steal this system if you want to. Just be sure to tweak it so that it makes most sense for you. Whether you are taking a break from your business, going on a sabbatical, or taking a maternity leave like I am, there is so much to think about when it comes to stepping away for a little bit. But hopefully this video gave you a nice little checklist of things to think about. And if it did, be sure to give it a thumbs up so that I know. Now, I've actually been doing a little bit of tinkering around and experimenting in Notion with my projects database and using the sprints feature in Notion. In my next video, I am walking you through everything you need to know about the sprints feature and my honest thoughts about it. So be sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications so you don't miss it. Until then, if you want to learn more about how I organize my entire business in Notion, you can watch this video next. I'll see you guys in the next one.